I will say how we actually picked up our first US sportsbook was literally by proving our product was by betting into them. And then that was eventually how they trusted and saw the edge.
Hey, this is Jesse here, and you're about to hear my conversation with Simon from ShotQuality, which is a sports data extraction company using computer vision, AI, and data science to optimize pricing for sportsbooks and syndicates. In this one, Simon explains where ShotQuality fits within the data ecosystem and how it's being used by B2B clients, his experience working through the dreaded operator integration roadmap, the R&D journey to develop such sophisticated technology, and the role that mentors and advisors have played for Simon as a first-time founder. I'm really impressed by Simon and what he's building with ShotQuality, and I know you'll enjoy this one as much as I did. By the way, don't forget to look in the show notes below for a $200 discount code on your full event pass for the upcoming next New York City Summit in March. The show is guaranteed to sell out, so grab your ticket ASAP, and I look forward to seeing you there. The Betting Startups podcast is presented by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. 4 out of the top 5 US operators personalize player experiences with Optimove. Learn more about Optimove by requesting a demo at optimove.com/bettingstartups. If you like what you see, you'll get your first month free. All right, we are back here on the Betting Startups podcast with episode 151. And today I am joined by Simon Gerszberg from ShotQuality. And Simon, I met you a few years ago now. I remember distinctly getting a WhatsApp message from our mutual friend, Benji Cherniak, who says, "Hey, Jesse, I got to introduce you to this kid, Simon. He's building some amazing stuff." I think like a week later, you and I were at either SBC or one of the next .io shows in New York. And we met up, and sure enough, you were doing some amazing stuff. And I've always been really intrigued since then by what you and your team are building. So excited to finally have you here. Just to check in at the starting line. How's everything going on your end?
Yeah, no, all good, all good. Appreciate the honor of being on and excited to chop it up.
Awesome, man. Well, let's just start at the beginning like we always do with an introduction. And if you could give the audience a bit of a sense of who you are, your background, and kind of your stops along the way prior to founding ShotQuality.
Yeah, so my stop started at Colgate University, where I was a student there. And I tell everyone, luckiest event of my entire life was Colgate randomly pairing me with the star of the Colgate basketball team. Without that, none of this happens, and we don't have the company we have today. Within the first week, he connected me to the coaching staff. And from there, I just started doing a couple analytical projects for them. And one of them was grading shots by hand behind the bench. So I'd watch each shot attempt and subjectively assign a value just by knowing the players and the defensive schemes and the whatever, like when there was a floater versus a three-pointer off the dribble, catch and shoot, who's defending it and so forth. And then I would drop the clipboard on the coach's desk, and he would use that information. Dave Klatsky, one of my mentors, he's now the head coach at NYU, but was the assistant at Colgate. He would use that information to evaluate the process. He didn't care if the team missed 30 open threes, 30 open layups. He just cared if they were getting the right shots. And that kind of became the process over result for everything. Has kind of become the thesis behind what we've built at ShotQuality, and I guess the origin of how it happened.
Did you play yourself, or were you just the guy with the clipboard on the bench there tracking everything?
I was the clipboard guy. I asked the coach to fix my form for a couple times, and he rejected me. So I was definitely the clipboard guy. My form was too broken at the start.
Well, everybody has a role on the team. It's a team sport after all, right? So clipboard guy has a place.
There you go. I like that nickname.
So take us through sort of how that led to the start of the company. Filling some gaps there, right? There's obviously a big part of the story there. Collecting this data, getting insights into how this data could be used for analytical purposes to sort of help make coaching decisions, et cetera. Talk a bit about the light bulb moment you had from, sitting there with the clipboard to actually recognizing there might be an opportunity here to automate it a bit more than what you were doing in a very manual process.
So this was 2020 at the time. So COVID happened, right? March 2020. So I left school. February 2020, I actually attended the Sloan Sports Analytics Conference, which was very inspirational. And then April 2020, I just basically, right as I left, I knew this product, had value for Colgate, the data I was collecting and beginning to automate it for them. So I knew if I could somehow automate this for all of college basketball, NBA, WNBA, it would have similar value in the coaching realm. Little did I know it had more value in the betting realm, which is where obviously we ended up focusing on and now where we are today. But then COVID happened. I developed the algorithm, scaled it. I just started posting metrics on Twitter and it really just took off serendipitously, I would say. I really didn't really think of it as a business early on. It was more so, I'm just really passionate about this and I want to build this and scale this. And then just kind of naturally took off. We got 25 D1 teams our first year, 60 our second. Then what started happening was we had more bettors buying the coaching package than coaches. And then what started happening was we had a lot of the sports books, data science teams, syndicates, and trading teams also buying the coaching and the betting package. And it was somewhat of a mess trying to figure out like how to optimize for the customer base. But we knew obviously the data we were collecting had tremendous value.
Just sticking with the origin story, Simon, talk us through a little bit more around the process to switch from manual data collection to automated data collection, right? I mean, it sounds like you scaled rather quickly insofar as your ability to collect that data. I forget what you said, 25 D1 teams or whatever it was. How did you, I guess, get to that point? Did you quickly develop some technology or infrastructure? Like, just talk us through, the origin of that and you sort of alluded to the original go-to-market strategy, which was to sell the data and the analytics back to coaches. Just talk through a little bit about, I guess, your original thesis as well from a go-to-market perspective.
Totally. Yeah. So from the technology side, what we're doing today is we extract data from video using both computer vision with human in the loop. When I was a junior in college, that's not how I was building the algorithm. There were clear gaps in what we were creating, but it was really just a data science model that was built off of another external company's play-by-play source. So the main impetus of when we raised our first round was the goal of trying to build everything in-house. That was one of the most important things we knew to solidify our IP, not only of the data science side of like the ShotQuality model we'd built, but also on the data extraction side. And that's kind of what we've achieved today now is obviously being able to extract similar metrics of what, your eyes could see on the basketball court, who the defender is, how close is the defender, what's the speed of the players. Some of this you obviously can't calculate with your eyes, is now what we're extracting with our technology.
You mentioned like there was this, I guess, organic shift in focus from selling the data to coaches and colleges and universities to more of a betting use case. And it sounds like the market sort of pulled you in that direction. Was it an organic transition or like did you intentionally say, you know what, actually there's more money, more opportunity in the betting side and you made a push that way? Just talk through, I guess, that shift in focus.
Yeah, no, very fair. I think we got pigeonholed by our price point in the coaching realm early on, which was part of the reason. I think we weren't charging enough for the value our product was creating for the teams that use it. UConn was a client for 3 years and won the national championship. So like definitely the product was working and doing quite well, but I just don't think we were charging enough. And then when we began to focus on the B2B side in the gaming space, we knew by then that our data had tremendous value. And honestly, the core of what the coaches brought to the product was their feedback. They are the ultimate QA team you could ever want because they care about details of specific data more than any group or people I've ever met in my entire life. Like they would see a shot that's like 57% on our website and they'd be like, no, that's 59.5. Are you kidding me? And I'm like, okay, I like it.
Awesome. So let's fast forward a little bit to where you guys are at now. You've alluded to it, but I'll just give you the opportunity to give us the elevator pitch. Like give us a sense of like what exactly you have in market right now and I guess what the value proposition is, who's using it, et cetera.
So essentially what we're doing is we are extracting data from video feeds using both a combination of computer vision with human in the loop with data science to create actionable insights for our sportsbook partners and syndicates to utilize both our API, which is one of our primary products, and then our trading tools, which we call more of a Trojan horse product, just to no integration, create some ROI with our data to see. And the way this works, just a quick example, let's just say the Knicks are up 10 against the Celtics, but we're expecting them to be down 10 in the game. We will give notifications to the traders saying, in this situation, when this has happened over the last 3 years, what has been the outcome? So if the spread's, -7.5, maybe in this case, it should be -5.5 or whatever it should be because of the data and how the shots should be falling based off the process.
And I guess talking about the commercial traction or the response from the market with this offering, I mean, it sounds like, you're getting calls for it, which is obviously very promising and validating, but gives a bit of a sense of, I guess, what the commercial response has been so far.
Yep. So one of our flagship clients on the API side is Planetech. Yeah, they're one of the sharper books and have used a lot of our deeper data to build some really, really cool models in a wide variety of leagues. So we give them data in over 15 leagues that they use to power their models. And then on the trading side, a couple of the tier 1 US sports books are also using it to shade their lines, ultimately to get some ROI and help take in more of the sharp money to a specific side when the expected data is leaning in that way.
Nice. I'll shout out Adam Bjorn from Planetech. And for people that aren't aware, Planetech being the platform behind some US brands that includes Prime Sports. And actually just last week, Planetech announced they launched in Arizona under the BetCris brand. So how does it feel, I guess, just to know that, your data product is out there being used by one of the sharper operations in the market, and it's a real probably core input to their models. It must feel pretty cool.
It does feel pretty cool, especially a lot of my reward on the customer side was always on the coaching side. I wouldn't describe myself as I don't bet too much. I will say how we actually picked up our first US sports book was literally by proving our product was by betting into them, and then that was eventually how they trusted and saw the edge. But it definitely is very rewarding to see it in the lines and the movement, especially with some of our other US sports books, because that's actually what I'll pull up on my phone and see, 2-point difference in this game. I know why.
Talk a bit about the experience, I guess, as a B2B supplier, right? We're all very aware on this podcast of the dreaded integration backlog with a lot of the B2B companies in the space. Sounds like you've broken through a little bit and you've got some integrations in place. You're live with a couple tier 1s, as you mentioned. What's been your experience through that process? It's been notoriously challenging for a lot of companies to get traction there. Talk a bit about your experience with that and maybe what some of the, I guess, success factors have been for you to sort of push through that resistance.
Yeah, so our trading tool solution was created to, Euro step through the dreaded integration timeline is what you're speaking about, Jesse. So that really has been the key to proving the value just right out the door. And then once there's obviously proof that, this data does provide value and has predictive value for the teams, for both trading and then the data science team sees this, and obviously their goal is to automate a lot of the work that the trading team does. So it's kind of nice to work in tandem with both teams simultaneously and prove out the value on both sides, usually starting with trading and then into data science. But we've actually gone the other way as well, data science into trading as well. But like you said, the roadmaps are long, and it's part of the reason that we've begun now exploring some new sports, because just having one sport, I think, also made it a little more difficult to get on the integration roadmap. Although basketball is obviously one of the more popular sports in the US, there's another bigger one that we are now honing in on because of that fact.
We'll come back to that in a second here, Simon, but just sticking with the integration topic for a moment, what is your sense around timelines right now? Do you think vis-a-vis even 1 or 2 years ago when you first brought your product to market, do you think the timelines are getting shorter and there's more appetite now from operators to integrate third-party products, or is it just as tough now as it was a couple of years ago? I've heard mixed anecdotes around this. I'm just curious to capture your experience as a data point in this wider discussion.
Yeah, I think the thing that we've actually gotten as feedback once in a while has been around fear of the company being acquired, of why they're scared to use the product and integrate and then have to lose it if they get acquired by, a sports book, whatever it may be, like the Simple Bet example. So that's definitely been pushback we've gotten. In terms of the integration timeline, because we're not providing a full pricing solution, I mean, by no means is it super quick. It's not like a one-day job to integrate the shot quality model and all the underlying player tracking data into the models, but it's definitely simpler than a full pricing solution across, multiple sports and multiple markets. And really I haven't experienced too much of a seismic shift besides that feedback, as I said, around the Simple Bet acquisition.
Let's talk about the technology underpinning all of this. I mentioned computer vision and a bunch of other fancy terms that are well above my ability to comprehend, but it's pretty smart stuff. All that to say, Simon, you've built some pretty sophisticated technology that's allowing you to do all of this, and that's contributing to the success that you and the team are seeing. Talk a bit about the R&D journey developing all of this, right? I mean, building anything that's sophisticated, there's ups and downs in that journey, bringing all of this technology to market. Just give us a bit of a sense of what that journey's been like developing all of this. And, now with the technology clearly working well in market, how do you think about that as, I guess, a defensible moat for the business?
Yeah, absolutely. It was always for us creating more of that data independence was that moat. And you mentioned computer vision being like a sexy term, and it definitely is. And that was actually the way I perceived it early on until I met our CTO, Alex Bustamante. He originally was the co-founder of Key Motion, who eventually got acquired by Radar, and then he left in 2022 to join us. And he has been definitely he has been the most impactful person on our tech stack. Early on, what he pushed more than anything is that computer vision is not this magical being. It is extremely helpful asset to automate things and create efficiency. But ultimately, it's almost like a human. Like it can only detect to the limits of what the eyes can see. And even then, it's going to have misdetection. So the core part of our IP, although our computer vision models are quite good in basketball and now scaling to other sports, it's actually our capability to quickly identify false positives and correct it quickly at scale with our human collection team. So we have both a logging and human collection team with our computer vision automation. And because of that, like computer vision can only bring you up to whatever it is, 90, 95%. And then getting to that last 5, 10%, that is like the core and key to get as accurate and precise granular data, obviously at scale.
So you've made a couple of references to this now, which is the fact that there is a new sport you will be supporting. ShotQuality obviously came to market with basketball as a core focus, so much so you have a basketball on your logo, which I understand you're updating now. But you've talked about your upcoming expansion into American football. So talk a little bit about, I guess, what that's looked like for you guys, and maybe specifically what I'm curious about, Simon, is the technology you just talked about. Like, how's the lift been adapting it for other sports? Like, has it been a duplication of effort, or has it been more incremental where you're able to to utilize a lot of the existing parts of the platform, parts of the tech to adapt it to football? Or has it been like a wholesale rebuild of the platform to facilitate new sports?
Yeah. Before I go into the tech stack quickly too, what I will say is I've always been very against into moving into another sport, similar to like part of the issues early on of serving too many customer bases early on is you don't want to have your tentacles in too many different directions, dancing at 6 different weddings at the same time. So when we moved into a new sport, the most important thing and what we were actually pitching when we were beginning to talk to current clients and new customers about it is we wanted an expert within the sport to tell us what their edge was, what they saw, and what our infrastructure and technology could scale, because we are not football experts. And when we're pitching cricket, tennis, and these other sports that we're now talking to other companies about, we don't claim to be experts in this sport. We just claim to be able to extract data at scale in real time more efficiently than anyone else. And doing that, it's difficult from growth sport to sport, as you're saying. And in terms of going from our current tech stack, just basketball, into other sports, the way it was built, our VP of software engineering, John, he built it with the vision of always being multi-sport, even before I thought it would be multi-sport. So it's not like, you flip a switch or copy paste and edit. But because of that, we're able to basically scale our technology into a new sport in 5 to 7 month turnaround time with very similar operations and scale, just increasing the logging team if need be and retraining the models with large data sets.
So what's the status of the new football product? Obviously, in a few short days, we have a bit of an important game coming up and then a little bit of quiet time before the next football game after that. Have you been sort of using this season as developing it, testing it, et cetera, with an eye towards really launching it next season? Or what's the development and rollout of the new football product been like?
Yeah, so the goal is to get a full backfill of this most recent season and then potentially 2 seasons. Part of a big pro of using computer vision is you can go back from broadcast TV and scale it backwards. So we're able to create pretty large backfills, which is super helpful for obviously the predictive models and the data science side. Yeah, so some testing going on obviously now, and then main goal and sights on preseason August time, and obviously when the NFL season kicks off in September next year.
And as it relates to the predictive element, does it have any intuition as to how this upcoming game might unfold or transpire, or is that away from the focus of the technology you guys have built?
It's away from the focus for now, at least. The main that is obviously the end goal is, predict games, predict players, and predict teams. But for now, I don't have any magical insights of what will occur in this game on Sunday night here. But I will say, I wish the Jets were in it, because if they were in it, this could have been our year, or maybe next year. Who knows?
I think every year could have been the Jets year, right?
Yeah.
Right on. Let's zoom out a little bit from ShotQuality specifically, Simon. And I'm curious for you coming in here, getting traction as a new data provider with your unique approach to everything and your unique value proposition. You're entering a fairly crowded landscape. The data ecosystem obviously is the lifeblood of a lot of the betting products that are in market right now. You need these inputs to generate odds as the output. What's your, broad assessment as it relates to the data ecosystem right now and kind of where you guys sit in there? Is there any sort of interesting trends you're observing? Obviously there's incumbents within the space. There's some challengers like yourselves that are looking to carve out parts of it. But just what are your broad anecdotes as it relates to this category you're operating in?
One of the trends that I've begun to notice more and more is the sports books, and what I've heard from some of the VPs of trading at some of the sports books is they at some point will begin to start collecting more data in-house at some point here. The M&A circle and cycle has been more focused on some of the pricing arms recently with Sport IQ and Simplebet and Zero Flux and a few others. And I do think in the next, 3-5 years here, that trend may flip towards more of the data extraction and data collection side, as eventually there will be this oil refinery moment where obviously data science models can always be improved, but can you get more ROI from better, more accurate, faster data? Then you kind of just continue to refine the current data that is being provided to you.
You mentioned during the opening intro, you made a reference to a round of funding you guys had closed some time ago. Can you give us a bit of a backgrounder on the capital side of this? Obviously, what you built is fairly sophisticated stuff. It takes a lot of smart people to pull off, which costs money. Give us a bit of a funding backgrounder on ShotQuality to date.
So on the investment side, initially, the VC that led around, I actually met them through Colgate. So I was part of an entrepreneurship program at Colgate. And they were probably two of my most impactful mentors, Wills Hapworth and Andy Greenfield. They also ran a VC in conjunction of working on the entrepreneurship program at Colgate. So they were the ones that initially started doing diligence on both our coaching and betting customers. And then we were able to close our round in 2022 with KB Partners, one of the larger sports tech VCs. And pretty much immediately when I met Keith, we headed off and found a fit there. And they've been instrumental to our development and made a pretty large impact in terms of just connecting us with some of the top players that have now become our clients today.
And you made reference to something there, Simon, I want to double click on, which is the role of mentors and advisors to you in this journey. And to contextualize this a bit, like you're fairly young, you're a first time founder. You've raised a significant amount of capital to finance all of this. You have built some impressive technology. Deploying it to 25 Div 1 colleges is an impressive milestone. Possibly even more impressive is deploying it into Tier 1 operators in the US betting industry. So you're crushing it by all accounts, but I do know for all founders, you need to have people that are supporting you and helping you along the way. And this isn't an easy game that we're in. Talk about the role of mentors and advisors for you in your journey so far. And I mentioned Benji's name at the outset here. I know he's involved with ShotQuality and he's been there for you. So again, just what has that role of mentorship meant to you on this journey?
Yeah. So you mentioned Benji, and he's probably my most impactful mentor. And we obviously have a mutual there. I guess almost everyone has a mutual probably listening here with Benji potentially. Yeah. And I will say, I think my perspective on the investor side and the VC side is definitely very different than the average founder fundraising, because like you said, I'm a first time founder. This is even my first job. Like this is like the first thing I've sunk my teeth. Like everything I've learned has been within this domain and within ShotQuality. So I'm very aware that like there is so much crap that I have not learned and have not mastered at this point in time. And they're the ones that have seen, the reasons of why companies have failed and succeeded. So like really just picking their brains as much as possible on the Wills, Keith, Andy. And then another one of our board members, John Abamondi, as well. He's been pretty instrumental to some of the development of the ShotQuality side and just learning from him and some of the other operators that I've spoken with. So yeah, I definitely take a lot of advice and take it close to heart because of the fact that, like you said, I am pretty young and I'm a lot to learn here to obviously take this where we want it to go.
Well, you got time on your side and, green fields ahead for you, man. So you're doing something right by virtue of the fact you've made all this progress in a relatively short amount of time. It's objectively really impressive stuff, Simon. Getting towards the finish line here, I usually ask most of my guests to look in their crystal ball. So I'll put it to you as well. You're looking in yours 5 years into the future. In your wildest dreams, where's ShotQuality then, and kind of where's it sitting within the broader betting ecosystem and landscape?
Yeah, I think we are one of the primary data extraction arms for all sports. Most likely not focused on, the fast data, but everything else outside of that. For all sports, we are the go-to place to find the most predictive data, ultimately to create the best pricing for our sportsbook partners.
Love it. I've been introducing something in recent episodes. We're doing rapid fire questions to finish up. Yes. So we're going to run it down with you here. Quick answers to a few quick questions. What's the first app you check when you get out of bed in the morning?
Slack.
If you're in the karaoke lounge singing, what song are you singing at karaoke?
Oh, Just a Friend by Biz Markie.
Nice. Classic. And last one for you, Simon. If you could be somebody else for a day, trade bodies with somebody else, who would that person be and why?
Oof, that's a hard one. I want to say like a professional athlete, but I'm trying to think of the right professional athlete here. There's no one on the Jets I could pick. Go Aaron Judge. He's brought me a lot of joy in my life, and I'd like to be him for a day. I'd take that.
A lot of joy, a little bit of heartbreak this last World Series, though. Yeah.
I forgive him. It was a tough fly ball in center field. I'll give him a break.
That's big of you.
Yeah.
Right on, Simon. For people listening that want to get in touch with you and or learn more about ShotQuality and everything you guys are building, quickly plug the best way for people to reach you.
Best place to reach you would be just email simon@shotquality.com or by hello@shotquality.com is the best place to go.
Right on, Simon. Well, I'm really excited to see your new football product come to market here, and really wishing you and the team all the best for the year ahead. Look forward to seeing you soon, probably in New York in March at the next IO conference.
100%. Thanks, Justin. This is great.
The Betting Startups podcast is presented by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. 4 out of the top 5 US operators personalize player experiences with Optimove. Learn more about Optimove by requesting a demo at optimove.com/betting startups. And if you like what you see, you'll get your first month free.